Hi, everybody. Welcome to Square It Up, our podcast from the Swinford Media Group. I'm Bill Swinford.
And I'm Monica Daniels.
It's great to have you with us once again, and we are dressed up today.
Yes, we are. I'm so excited.
So we're recording this on Tuesday, May 22nd, and tonight is a special event.
It is. We have a dinner party to go to.
Yeah, dinner party.
In Herrin.
Yeah, okay.
And
so
celebrate.
I shouldn't ask you this because you actually thought this was tomorrow, right?
I did.
As of about an hour ago, you still thought this was tomorrow. But it's like I say, it's Tuesday, May 22nd. We're probably going to put this up on Saturday, but we wanted to go ahead and tell you why we're dressed up. We are going to the HerrinFesta Italiana Mayor's Honorary Banquet. It's an annual event that they have that I've been to a few times, and it was nice of Cheryl Trench, our friend who writes the paper telephone column in our publications, to invite us to come and sit at her table.
Yeah.
Gonna get to sit with Cheryl.
I'm so excited. And so this is he's been to a few, right? And this is my first one.
Very first.
And I don't know a lot about a lot of the history of the festival.
HerrinFesta Italiana.
HerrinFesta Italiana.
Right.
So
Italiana.
Right. So you're going to tell me about it?
Yeah, so we're going to educate you and everybody else on it. Square It Up, as we've talked about many times, it comes to you from our location on Tower Square in Marion, but we care so much about the other towns in our county as well as the region. And I'm a Herrin boy. I grew up in Herrin, so I will always care about Herrin events. And this is one that has been around. This particular festival has been around since the early 90s. I believe 1991 was the first official HerrinFesta Italiana. Through the years, it's been a terrific festival that has brought thousands and thousands of people to town. Takes place mostly downtown now and around the Civic Center. There's live music, there's carnival, there are all kinds of vendors, of course, and these cool little events and contests that happen. They have the bocce ball courts right there next to the Civic Center, and so there's always bocce ball tournaments going on. And then inside the Civic Center, they'll often have different contests, like they've had a contest called the Bigga Nose Contest.
Bigga Nose?
Bigga Nose, B-I-G-G-A, Bigga Nose. I got a bigger nose than you do. Right. And
so whoever has the biggest nose wins the contest.
Exactly.
This is this in Italian?
Well, you say okay. So I don't really want to I don't want to get in trouble by saying that there are a lot of Italians with sizable noses. I'm not Italian. I have a sizable nose myself. But Cheryl Trench actually admitted to winning this contest one year, and there have been a lot of other Italians that I grew up knowing, having grown up in Herrin, that certainly could have won this contest. And so I'm not sure they're doing that these days. They might bring that back. They have different, cooking contests, best spaghetti sauce, that type of thing, best sauce, and of course the big contest that kicks it all off just happened at the Civic Center, and that was Miss HerrinFesta Italiana. And that happens every year. So now Miss HerrinFesta Italiana will reign over this entire festival. And this year's Miss HerrinFesta Italiana is McKenna Walters, who's actually a Marion girl. So that's always interesting when you have a Marion person winning the Herrin contest, right? Because there's still a little bit of a rivalry.
We're breaking down rivalries or building
breaking it down, the Herrin people are always gracious. There have been Miss HerrinFesta Italianas from all around the region. As extra special for Herrin when a Herrin girl wins it. They had a Herrin girl finish toward the top this year. But McKenna Walters won it this year, and so we will see her at the event that we're going to.
Yeah, I look forward to meeting her and hearing all about her experience and that. So we'll have to touch base on that later on in another podcast.
Right, yeah. And but going back to the origination of HerrinFesta Italiana, many of our podcast viewers will already know this, listeners will already know this, but Herrin has a rich Italian heritage. you got to experience a little bit of that at an event that we went to at Louis P&R
Yes.
a couple of months ago.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. We went to Louis P&R. Julie Christ hosted a get together for people who are interested in the history of Herrin and the roots of Herrin, and they just wanted to be sure to pull that history together in stories to keep it going on, to keep it alive, so people remember, where the town came from. And I met a lot of really neat women and men, and we had a great time. One of my favorite little places to go shop if I want something from Italian that is authentic, I know to go there to get my sauces and my pastas and my meat,
and it's definitely a kind of a hub for the HerrinFesta events. It's a great place to go get your HerrinFesta merchandise. Stop by there. It's just a couple of blocks from the what do they call where the carnival is? They call that the main way.
The main way.
Is that the main way?
Main drag?
I don't know where the rides are. It's only a couple blocks from the Civic Center. Only a couple blocks from where the rides are. Anybody can point your way if you're going over there. Check it out. Get a little something to eat. Might get to meet Julie and her husband Aaron.
Yeah.
We'll get to see them tonight.
Yes.
And that'll be fun.
Look forward to that.
But Herrin does have that Italian heritage. So many of the families came over. So many of the families came over from the same part of Italy. And so they decided in the early 90s to start celebrating that. Before that, in the late 80s, there was a festival just called HerrinFest. My dad was mayor of Herrin in the early 80s. It feels like that may have started even before he left office. Because what I remember the most is when I was a kid, our festival in May was the Loyalty Day festival, okay? And Loyalty Day is something that's actually more of an early May event that isn't really recognized so much anymore. But Loyalty Day is when our bands, I was always in marching bands, we would always march in the Loyalty Day parade and have the Loyalty Day carnival on the city parking lot, which is over closer to City Hall, back behind that stretch of buildings, including Baldwin Piano and Organ. I got my Baldwin cup here this morning.
Yeah.
So that's what the festival was when I was a kid, and that kind of evolved into something they called HerrinFest that still kind of stayed in that location for a number of years until the early 90s when again, Cheryl Trench and a few other key people really came up with this great idea of celebrating that Italian heritage.
That's so smart, yeah.
With all these great contests.
Cheryl has great vision.
Yes, she does.
Great storytelling skills. She's been a writer for for a long time.
She's written her paper telephone column since 1974, I believe.
Yes.
I think this might be an anniversary. This might be 50 years. I think 74 is correct. She might correct me on that, but she has written it for our papers for a number of years now. But I've been reading it my whole life. And she has all those years in doing that and also working in radio, and she's great at marketing and promoting, and still to this day she's doing these kinds of things. Now, Nina Helini, who you've gotten to meet, is somebody else who kind of drives some of that now, and Cheryl's there to kind of back her up and assist her. But they do a terrific job. We have our Festa Forever ad right here in last week's Herrin Independent. Festa Forever is the theme this year, and they are apparently planning on having the Festa Forever.
There you go.
And nobody's argued with that because it is a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
So we'll look forward to getting to be a part of that. Abbie, go ahead and run through us. What can we expect at HerrinFest this weekend? Abbie is next to the microphone, and she has the information. Abbie agreed to do this ahead of time.
I did not.
She's having. Yeah, I think you did.
I agreed to do something else, not this.
Well,
what? Okay.
What did you agree to?
I have a reel for you.
A reel? What do you mean by a reel?
On Facebook, like Ross. You ain't got help.
Well, Ross is here.
That's so
Abbie mentioned that Ross Swinford, my son, Abbie's significant other, is here. He does his own podcast with Carrie Martin.
Yeah.
And so he's here checking us out, judging us. I think he's judging us.
Probably,
I can't even see him.
You can feel the judge heat coming.
I feel it, but
you can
that's
feel
okay.
it from the darkness.
But he is the one that kind of puts the finishing touches on everything that we do, and he makes us look good when this finally goes up on.
Can I just say, too.
Yes.
When Abbie says Ross, it is so cute. Like, we should just take that and make it into a meme and a soundbite. We're just going to throw that out there. Ross.
Ross.
So,
It's kind of like Rachel from
So-
Friends. Ross.
so adorable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if Ross also
You've got
finds
a
it
meme
adorable.
there.
You think Ross finds it adorable?
I
Probably
do.
not.
We do. So that's
Yeah, so
good
keep
enough.
it up.
Yeah, keep it up. Do it for us.
Keep Ross in line.
We think it's adorable. We think it's entertaining.
Okay, so
Yeah.
watch for that other reel with all the HerrinFesta events. It's probably already up. I'm sure that's gone up before the podcast goes up. So that'll keep you informed. All the way through Monday, Memorial Day itself, one of the last events they always have a road race on Memorial Day downtown, but also Monday morning there'll be a ceremony at the Doughboy statue on North Park Avenue across from City Hall next to Joe's Pizza.
Yes.
And that's always a very nice Memorial Day service to honor our dead. And that's really where Memorial Day came from, right? I mean, we should understand that. Memorial Day was founded in the 1860s to honor the Civil War dead. And guess who founded it?
Johnny Logan.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
That's a good
General
guess.
Johnny Logan.
That's a very good guess. Yes, General John A. Logan, post-Civil War, was kind of in charge of what was then their veterans organization. And he put out this proclamation to create a day to honor our Civil War dead. And that evolved into what was later known as Decoration Day. And they call it that because they decorate, everybody decorates the graves for that day. And eventually the name was officially changed to Memorial Day. But one of the very first Decoration Day services, even right around that year in 1866 or soon thereafter, was at Woodlawn Cemetery in Carbondale. One of the very first one in Illinois, one of the very first ones in the entire nation. So that's kind of special for Southern Illinois.
It is special, yeah.
That we have that in our history. So
We have history makers all over the place in this area.
Right.
In our history, yeah.
And so we just got to remind ourselves every time these days come around, Labor Day, another day like this, we have things that we love to celebrate. We love a day off. We love to have our barbecues and picnics and our times together. But we also have reasons that those days are holidays, and that's to honor the people that are being honored. And so let's make sure we do something this Memorial Day, including opportunities that you have. You have the same opportunity in Marion, at the cemetery in Marion, Mayor Mike Absher, and with the help of the American Legion and VFW, we'll have a nice ceremony out there on Monday morning. In Carterville, they put flags out in Cannon Park. Beautiful line. Have you ever seen this?
No, I haven't.
Yeah,
actually,
a long line of flags that you can just kind of go down the road and the path and take all that in. And they do a beautiful job there. So you'll want to check that out. Just do something on Monday to remember all those lives that were sacrificed for our sake, right?
Yes, absolutely.
One other thing to mention about Memorial Day is the Herrin American Legion advertises with us every year their Memorial Day barbecue, and that happens on Monday, which is May 27th, starting at 11:30, and it's just $3 for veterans, and everybody else pays $7. But active military and their family get to eat free on that day at the American Legion. That is located in Herrin, a couple blocks behind City Hall.
Okay,
Okay.
that's good to know.
All right.
Pass that information along to friends who are active military.
What else do we have to talk about? We've had quite a busy last week, including covering graduations. And Marion's high school graduation is one that Abbie, Ross, and I won't soon forget.
Right. It's got a little rainy.
Got a little rainy on us, yeah. And we always live stream the event.
Yeah.
Normally we set up right on the field. This happens at the minor league stadium. It's now called Mountain Dew Park. It's a great venue because back not all that long ago, before we had the stadium to work with for this, we were doing these inside the gym at Marion High School, and first of all, it's very hot. Everybody packed in there, which Herrin High School gym back in my day was the same way.
Right.
Very hot. But Marion is such a big school with big classes that they really had to limit the number of people you could have come. One year it felt like there were only two people that you could invite to come and witness your graduation in person. So they moved it out to the ballpark. Now it's unlimited. And the ballpark was pretty full, but it rained.
Yeah.
It was so hard. It was difficult because, and there's been a lot of chatter back and forth about this after the fact, of how it should have been handled. It's a very tough situation. I'm just going to advocate a little bit for the decision makers on this. I'm not sure anybody would have been happy with them. Everybody would have been happy with them. There's no way they were going to make everybody happy, because you have people that are coming in specifically for that day, leaving their homes, coming in family to be able to be there on that day. And so you might not get them if there's a rain date, if there's a later rain date. And the rain date was going to be on Sunday. But at the time of at the time that it was to start at 7:00, it wasn't raining. There was lightning in the region, and there's a real fear of lightning, as there should be.
For good reason.
For good reason. Matter of fact, do you remember this? There was, I don't know how many years ago it's been, but there was a student at Carbondale High School that was at a track meet, I believe.
Yeah.
That got struck by lightning.
Yeah.
Killed. It was tragic. And so from that point forward, every school district has kind of put in place some guidelines on how to handle lightning. And it's gotten to the point, I think it was 20 miles away, there was lightning detected. And so they held off the ceremony because they wanted to see what the lightning was going to do. Well, so the lightning proved to be less of an issue as time moved along, and it just started lightly raining. And I think the decision was made, well, let's just kind of do a kind of hurried along ceremony here, and we might be able to get this thing in.
Yeah.
And then the rain just started coming harder and harder, and that was really taken down to the only thing they had time to do was just to move the students quickly through the line, call each name, hand them their what's really a fake diploma, because they don't get their real diplomas at that time, and snap their picture, go back, throw the hats, run for cover.
Maybe a moment you might want to keep your hat on, right? But it's probably too late for that. Yeah.
No.
Drenched. Did you get pretty drenched yourself?
Yeah, I did. They had. We were in the first base dugout for the most part. Ross was under a tent. Chris Parton's group gave us a little space under one of their tents so he could shoot. He didn't have the best angle for our live stream, but you could hear every name called. You could see the students. But just to make sure that we ended up with enough good images, I just decided to go for it.
Right.
I was already somewhat wet. I was wearing a jacket, my blue blazer that needed to go to the dry cleaner anyway.
Oh, sure.
So
sure, and I'm sure they'll be okay. I remember my grandpa telling me about going to school uphill both ways through the snow and the ice, frozen onto his pony. His teacher would have to pull him off of his pony, so as long as there's no lightning, a little bit of rain.
Makes memories, makes good stories.
Makes stories.
Boy, this class, though, when you think about what they've been
makes
through.
Makes you tough, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're already pretty tough when you think about this is a class that probably was coming into high school about the time that COVID was happening.
Yeah, right.
And that shut down and having to, basically miss at least a school year of their lives. During COVID, it's kind of... Ross, were we already live streaming graduation before COVID? Or that's kind of when we started, I believe? Yeah, so I think that the first graduation we live streamed was kind of a artificial ceremony that we did with the guidance office in the high school gym with no students, not even the graduates.
Yeah.
So we were just calling names, honoring the graduates. We may have brought in the valedictorian, the salutatorian for a speech. I can't even remember for sure. But we just were naming off the graduates, throwing up their picture. That was the closest thing they could have to a graduation at that time. They came back the next year and did, kind of a makeup one, I believe, out on the high school football field. And then everything moved to the ballpark after that. But so that is... this class and those before them and those like Sophia's age, sophomore, they all were deep in the middle of missing out on some of the special things that school brings. In COVID. It was too bad for them. I think that's one reason people got really fired up about the fact that graduation kind of got spoiled a little bit because some other things had been spoiled.
Yeah. I mean, it's a
But
special.
more parent.
it's a
I've heard from
s-
more parents about that than the students themselves.
It's a special memory for sure. Like that moment of graduation is very special. So it, of course, you're gonna like protect it and want it to go smoothly as possible. But they're a great group of kids, and
Right. Oh, and talk about a great group of
Yeah.
kids. So we came back on Monday and had the opportunity because the speeches, the valedictorian and there's two salutatorians, their speeches had to be skipped. So we came back on Monday at Marion City Hall with the mayor and with the help of Rachel Stroud and Bart Sinks at the high school and Mrs. Oldham, who's the interim principal, put together a nice opportunity for us to video the three speeches. Noah Motzinger is this year's valedictorian, so he stood at a podium right there in the council chambers. Ross and Abbie videoed that. Asuri Leonage, I think I'm pronouncing her name right. I just met Asuri for the first time. Was one of the salutatorians, and Isabella Mings was the other. And so they all gave such great speeches. So that video's been done. By the time you're seeing this podcast, that video will be up as well. You can be watching that. They also named off the kids that are going into the military out of this class. They named off the top 10 students getting honor society members. So made sure that all of those things that normally happen on the platform during graduation got done and recorded for posterity. So that's the best part of what we do.
yeah.
The best part of what we do is getting to participate in providing something that people can't get other ways. Obviously, in our publications, the Marion Star, the Herrin Independent, the Carterville Courier, the best part of what we do is giving them information, local news, community news, sports coverage that they're not going to be able to get anywhere else. Best part of what we do when we live stream sports or live stream a Christmas parade or something is to be able to give somebody who's not able to participate, be there, or in some cases events that can't happen, giving that an extra play, an extra boost, and so it's an honor for us to get to participate in that.
Bring those experiences to us so we don't miss out.
And just shout out to our sponsors, including the main sponsor of everything we do, including this podcast, is Watermark Auto Group. Always helping us make these things happen. We appreciate those sponsors. So when I was talking about the old days at Marion High School gym, and when it's all hot and stuffy in there, it made me remember a conversation we just had about temperature, thermostats, summertime.
Yeah. And what are parents, especially dads, why are dads like so militant about where to set the thermostat at? You're a dad, you could probably tell me.
Yeah, but I'm
and you had a dad.
Yeah.
So you could probably.
That's right. And yet I'm the opposite of my dad. And this is a question that you can kind of chime in, get on the comments, tell us your experiences with this. My dad was raised in homes that had no controlled temperatures, no central units or even wall unit air conditioners, he had a coal stove, and when it was hot, they had to go find a shade tree. That's the way my dad grew up.
Right.
I think a lot of dads that are the generation of my dads, grew up that way. So they didn't have a lot of sympathy for us in the summertime when the temperature was rising and we had central air. They would set a number on that thermostat, and my dad would say, "You do not touch this," because he had to pay the electric bill.
Right.
And that number at our house was 80 degrees. Yeah. Now, if you go to my mom's house now,
Yeah.
it feels still like it's 80 degrees. She lets us touch the thermostat. My dad's gone. My dad's been gone for 5 years, so now we get to touch the thermostat
Right.
at mom's house. But she's gotten so very comfortable with that at 80 degrees. 80 degrees it feels really hot when you're inside with no air moving.
I can see that, but with the fan on. Isn't this kind of relative?
We
though?
weren't allowed to have fans
Like coming off of a hot, humid,
fans use electricity
90
too.
degrees.
We were allowed to fan ourselves with one sheet of paper. That's all we could do.
That's all you were allowed to.
No, but that's not true.
Even fans like cost electricity, right?
But I would also point out that the house I grew up in was in a newer neighborhood. We had no shade trees. We had barely trees at all.
Shade trees are important.
We could not find coolness.
Right.
And Dad was at the office all day. I guarantee with the air conditioning cranked there, but at our house, 80 degrees.
You have a point. If you're not paying the electric bill.
So how do you handle this at your place? I know how you handle this because I've been to your place.
Right now, my AC needs a Freon refill anyway, so it's not running at full capacity.
Yeah.
So, and for me, like it's a lot about, perspective, coming off of, let's say we're coming off of a 90 hot, humid degree day into an 80 degree, there's some movement, might feel kind of comfortable. But coming in from 60 degrees up to 80 might feel, pretty warm or pretty
60
hot.
degrees is nice. I would not come out of 60 degrees. I would stay in 60 degrees.
As someone who pays the electric bill at my house,
I pay
and
the electric
as
bill,
a single mom, I've actually found that the best thing that works for me is if I'm going to be gone, I instead of like turning everything off, I even take it an extra step and I turn off the breakers because there tends to be even a lot of electrical draining and sucking that happens. Draining
and sucking, are those technical terms?
Of my electricity and my bill, So, and my money. This is just something that I read years ago, like even with everything off in the house,
right.
And if you have things that are plugged in, there's still going to be an electricity draw.
Okay.
And if I just turn off things at the breaker, it even cuts that draw like altogether.
Really?
So I can,
well, sure it does.
So I can, when I'm not there, if I just turn off even the breaker, I keep my curtains closed. So and then at night when I come home, I'll turn on the AC. Everything cools down.
So when you come home, isn't it really hot though? Or you're just saying that with curtains drawn?
It depends on the season. So like when it's comfortable outside, and if it's comfortable at night, then I can kind of maintain. Now during extreme temperatures, like when it's extremely hot.
You do this during extreme temperatures?
Well, during August, I won't do that. Like that's just too much. Like it seems like August, it just gets unbearable. Like I'm about to die.
You do, and you do have Lady, the beautiful Sheltie dog there living there too. That
right,
you have to think about.
Right. And so like keeping my curtains closed during the day to keep the sunlight out and just keeping it cool.
Okay.
And that helps a lot. And then in the winter time, when it's extremely cold, then I'm gonna have like the electric going probably.
So
nonstop.
you have seen that this helps your electric bill?
But by far.
Because I've always had the notion that if you took that approach, and I know other people that take that approach, and you're gone a lot of days, 12 hours, sometimes even more at a time.
Yeah.
I've always had the thought that if you turn it off, then it's just going to have to crank and run constantly when you get home, and it's just going to make up for all that electrical usage that you lost. Plus, you're coming home and it's kind of miserable in there. Right. So I just set mine.
Seeing my electric bill go from 300 to 100 makes me really happy.
Well, sure. Okay.
So yeah,
we can't argue with that.
But temperature wise, I get that fan going and
so
it seems to help.
So as you
open
know,
a window.
As you know, from my place,
yeah,
we like it nice and cool.
Yes,
at the Swinford Casa.
Yes.
And matter of fact, I think I turned my AC on in March this year. I mean, I think we had an 80-degree day in March. Set it, flipped it over from heat. I actually had a couple times where I flipped it back and forth in the same day from heat to cool as we were going through. I just set it on, 68 degrees.
Yeah.
And leave it there. And everybody's happy. Except Sophia. She gets a little cold.
Same. Me and Sophia.
Oh, Abbie also.
Abbie, thank you. Me too.
Abbie,
I walk in and I'm like.
Abbie, there are blankets. I'll go in and see Abbie watching TV with Ross, and she'll be covered up.
So me, Abbie, and Sophia are cold, and everybody else is happy.
But I'm always with a blanket anyway, like at my house too.
Well, and isn't the blanket thing is comforting? See, that's just it. I mean, when I sleep, I want to have a blanket on me. I don't want to be laying there like this.
Yeah.
I want to have a blanket on me. snuggle up with my
So
comforter.
you like to keep it cold enough to have a blanket on you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, with my fan running.
And even in the winter time, do you have
Yes.
do you obviously the blanket in the winter time, but the fan, do you have the fan
Yes.
running on you? And yeah.
Yes, ceiling fan. I used to have a personal fan here,
Yeah.
and I realized that probably wasn't very good for my health because it was blowing right in my face all night and
Right.
drying me out. So we just go with the ceiling fan and the constant cool.
What's our question going to be for our viewers about the temperature?
Well, okay. So here's the question.
Yeah.
How do you do it? Do you where do you set your thermostat in the summertime? How about that?
Okay. That's a good question.
And if you do this, what we will call the Monica method, if you do the Monica method of electric cost control,
Right.
then let us know that too, because I'm going to be amazed to see how many people actually.
I'm
use that
pretty
method.
sure I'm the only person in the world
No,
who turns the
hey,
breaker
no.
off.
Hey, jump in there, tell
I mean,
us.
I leave the refrigerator on.
The breaker, yeah, the
obviously.
break. It's one thing to turn the thermostat off. It's another thing to turn the whole
Right.
breaker off.
Yeah, and I mean and really that's just a tip I read
what
years
about
ago.
what about the refrigerator?
Well, your breakers are set up to only control certain parts.
Oh, you're not shutting the all. You're not.
No,
shutting the
no.
full power.
Only controlled parts of the
sorry.
house. Because if you think about it, the
I
washer.
thought you were turning off the main breaker
Well,
and just shutting everything off.
For an example, the washer and dryer stay plugged in nonstop.
Right.
And if I shut off that breaker, that's going to cut the electric. But if it's on, according to what I've read, then there's still going to be some sort of power pull with things plugged in on appliances that are not being used.
What's your source on this? You've read this.
My source is my electric bill. Like I read it
Okay.
and I started doing it
Right.
and I literally saw results in my electric bill. So my source is my experience after I read a tip.
Okay. So if you do this, we need to know
yeah.
this. Monica
Yeah.
needs some others to come alongside her and advocate for this. At the same time, what we'd like everybody to chime in and say is what you set your thermostat on in the summer. In the summer months, what's the temperature of your home? And is it your decision? Is it somebody else's decision? Is this a source of conflict in the house? People go through seasons of life where people feel differently about these things.
This might be something that should be in marriage vows when they get married. Like, what is the
It really should. At
coming
least
together, like, how are you gonna-
counseling? It should be discussed.
absolutely?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because it can be a problem.
I'm sure. Yeah,
God bless my mother and my dealing with the 80-degree temps. Of course, my mom grew up at a different time too. My grandparents had a beautiful home, but never, until their dying days did they have central air conditioning. They had a huge, this big, floor to there fan in the upstairs window.
Same.
That was pulling air all the time.
I spent a season of my life living in a house that was built in the 1800s, the late 1800s, and it had a huge fan, gigantic fan up in the upstairs.
Attic
and-
fan.
An attic fan. It
That's
was-
what I
it
grew
was
up with
gigantic.
in Memphis. My dad was from the 30s, and he grew up in the Depression.
Yeah.
My dad kept the air conditioning off until like it was 95 or 100 degrees, and we had winter units.
So it was bigger than me,
Oh,
like
yeah.
this fan was,
Huge.
but it was really helpful in keeping the temperature comfortable in the house. And
My dad's philosophy was that if you could sweat at night while you slept, if you had the attic fan on, it kept you cool. I just didn't like the sweating part.
Right. Yeah. No, Tom, man, I am with you on that. Anyway, if you are in HerrinFesta and you see us, please come up and say hi. But you can go on HerrinFesta.com and get all the information and our ad that we're running in our papers. There's a little QR code that'll take you there and get you what you need.
very good.
Nice to have Ross with us today. Abbie, Cullum, as usual, coming through with some great ideas. Abbie's going to come on with us real soon and give us recommendations on summer streaming ideas.
Oh,
Isn't that right, Abbie?
Yes.
Right.
Sweet. Love it.
Shows that you can, what do they call it? You can
Binge watch.
binge watch. I look forward to this. I look forward to this.
So she and Ross are the bingers.
So for people who are wanting to get
Under
out
the-
of the
under the
heat
blankets.
and binge watch,
Right. Well,
these are the
yeah, get out of the heat, get into the nice 68-degree temperatures, throw on your blankets
yeah.
and binge. Ross has quite a viewing room that we have at home.
He
So,
does. He did a great job with that.
so yeah, so watch for Abbie soon, back right here at the table with us talking about that. In the meantime, we've got an event to go to,
Yes,
and we'll tell you all about that next time.
we will. And I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Okay,
Yay.
you look beautiful.
Thank you. So do you.
Okay.
Very handsome.
Wearing got my HerrinFesta pen.
That's right.
On. So, all right. Thanks for watching. If you watched, thanks for listening. If you listened, thanks for listening and watching. If you watched and listened, this has been Squared Up. We'll see you next time.